Welcome to Hustle Radio, a podcast about the New York hustle mentality centered in the e-commerce industry, the official podcast of the E-com Cooperative. Introducing your hosts, Frank Acosta and David Dayon.
What's up, bro?
What's up, Frank? How we doing?
How are you, man? How's it going?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good?
Pretty good. You ready for episode 17, Frank?
Oh my God, we're up to 17 already, man.
17, and we got Jake Wolpert from Acquco joining us. We'll bring him on stage in a moment. But first, I want you to say 3 things that you love about Jake. I'm joking. Jake, what's up?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Back with the remix. These boys are my sons.
As promised, several intros. This is where we pick up our glasses.
When it's just done, I'm gonna fill up arenas. Ooh,
Got water.
arenas, shoot my shot. I'm still with the demons. Ooh, I keep it real. I got 5 chicks in New York.
You use my Acquco water bottle, right? All branded.
All good, bro. You're branded with your shirt. You're branded with the water bottle. It's all about branding, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we're showing what we got in our glasses. When you don't show what's going on, we know it's something.
Hey, man, it's been a long week, you know?
Yes.
The shortest weeks always feel like the longest, right?
For
We
sure.
always say whenever we go live, not at happy hour, we say it's happy hour somewhere.
Yeah.
But if it happens to be 5 o'clock and we're going live, I guess we just take the excuse to
Hey, you guys earned it, you know?
pour ourselves a shot end of the day before you wrap things up.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us today, Jake. We are excited for this episode. Excited to talk a little bit about your background, where you came from. I was doing my research, my episode research, as I usually do, and I was like thinking it was like a nice history, a nice origin story, if I might say so.
Appreciate that.
And it's like, you got your little dose here, you got your little dose there, you got all these things, all these experiences that you've collected ultimately shape what you bring to the table at the end of the day. And it's a nice thing. You'll do a better job at telling them about it. You are the director of sales at Acquco. You guys are doing some wonderful things. I'm going to let you, as promised, a butchered intro. And now I'm going to let you do your own intro. Tell us a little bit about who you are, maybe even go through some of that origin story that I touched on.
Sure. Yeah, I thought that was a nice intro, actually. It was real. I think my experiences, especially in the e-commerce space, are important because I've, learned what sellers sound like, how they've been successful. And I think that's important as we now acquire brands. But, how far do you want me to go back? I could start telling you, what I did in kindergarten, but, maybe.
No. I was talking about your entrance into the Amazon space. I think it goes back to FeedVisor.
Yep, absolutely. So, I joined FeedVisor back in 2017 after business school. Kind of just, got introduced to the VP of sales. They had just raised the B round, $20 million. And, compared to now with the private, money that's been pumped into the aggregator space, it's nothing. But I at the time, I thought it was massive. And they were based in Tel Aviv, headquartered there. And so they hired some salespeople to really build out the U.S. presence. So we moved down in Soho in New York. And, we were just trying to figure it out. I mean, I was literally making 200 cold calls. Talk about the New York hustle mentality. In a phone booth in a WeWork, making 200 cold calls a day with Joe Schuster. Shout out to Joe Schuster if he's listening, probably not. But, just trying to figure it out. But I think the blessing was I talked to a lot of Amazon sellers. That's how I got introduced to the area code. And I met, everybody. And I kind of learned what they did to be successful. That Amazon sellers come in all different shapes, sizes, backgrounds. There's no you go to school for Amazon, you learn it, and most of us just entrepreneurs. So we were selling repricing technology. They were definitely the industry leader. We grew. We started really SMB. We moved upstream to sell to larger brands. Sold advertising, brand analytics. It really was an end-to-end view into an Amazon business. And it was great. We were scaling. I was there for a couple of years. I got promoted. but I'm a builder. I build sales teams. I build processes. So I ended up leaving to join Blue Wheel. Also a really, really great company. Amazon advertising agency. And the founder is actually a top 100 seller. So they really kind of knew what they were doing, both on and off Amazon. And I joined as director of sales to do the same thing, build out an outbound sales process. And we grew even during COVID. Everybody knows the challenges, but we scaled the company. It was great. Really, really sharp people there. And then, I got introduced to the guys at Acquco, Ronick and Gerald and David. And I really bought into them more than anything. I had been following this space. I actually sold to, I won't name them, but one of the biggest, if not definitely the biggest aggregator back at FeedVisor when they were a $10 million company. So I'd been following this aggregator space. Wow. And I liked it. And so I met the team here, and similarly, really wanted to build an outbound process. And here we are 6 months later, trying to manage all this growth.
Okay. Wow. That's
crazy,
awesome.
man. So you've been in the space for a long time already, man.
Yeah, about 5 years, although it feels like forever, right? And 5 years here feels like 30.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's how it works, man.
A year in the Amazon space is like 7 years in the.
Yeah, it really is. Especially with all the changes that are happening, and you talk to a company at one point, and
one day in the Amazon world is like a year.
Exactly. Really, you talk to a seller one day, they're doing $1 million a year, and then a couple of years later, they're on track to do 5-10 million. So I think just the ability to scale is everything happens really fast.
There we go. And that's a good pivot into our topic, tips for scaling your Amazon business. Thank you for saying the word scale.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key, right? That's everything. All these businesses want to scale, and then we want to acquire them.
Yes. Okay. So now we touched on your history and how you kind of have all these experiences that kind of give you what you have. And I want to just, I guess, kind of I'm assuming that a lot of your experience helps you with your scaling tips. Like what to do, best practices with advertising in your mind from your time there, the different areas, so I want to get if you can try to categorize the tips, if you have a few
Sure.
that maybe go into a certain category, a few that go into a different. I don't know. I mean, you kind of take us with you into the mind. I feel like whenever you go for tips from someone who's been in the space, it's always it's very insightful into how they think and how they go about their I guess looking at their Amazon business. So I find it very interesting. So without further ado.
Absolutely. And look, you guys are experts too. So please, hopefully you agree with me, if not, challenge me. I know some of the tips I'm going to have, I think you guys provide these services, not to plug you guys, but I think it's important to leverage experts in the space. That's the first tip is don't do everything yourself. You can be, especially entrepreneurs that they started off, they were doing everything, and then they started to scale, and then they started to do the things that they weren't necessarily the best at, like hiring or, advertising, for example. All right. You should have, the best advertising effort possible, whether that's you or outsource. But I think the first idea is don't do everything yourself, especially as you scale, build a team. I know that's challenging, but there's so many smart people out here that, provide services. I'll come back to this, but I'll just say, don't go with the cheapest, go with the best. The person who's going to provide a service that you think is expensive, why would you think it's expensive? It's, or an investment.
I love that you said that, Jake, because I have this thing where I always tell people, and I've posted it so many times on LinkedIn over and over again. Cheap is expensive.
Right.
And I always say, if you think it's cheap, if you think it's cheap hiring an amateur, if you think it's expensive hiring an expert, wait till you hire an amateur, right? Because you'll end up spending the same money over and over again because the work isn't getting done.
That's exactly right. In fact, one of the salespeople at FeedVisor used to say, because it was, FeedVisor was a higher investment. I won't say more expensive, it's just a bigger investment, right? And people would say, well, these guys can do it for cheaper. And their price is lower. And he said, that's the price. That's not what it's going to cost you, though. Right? The price is what they're offering, but especially on Amazon, if you have a couple bad months, it's a disaster. So I'll say that once you decide what you're going to do in-house versus outsource, get the best. There's tons. I mean, you've had some of these services on your, on a podcast. Just really, really good advertising agencies, right? Or seller reimbursement services. But really where I wanted to start is content.
Sure.
Content is maybe the most important thing to start with, because you can't just tell people you have the best product, right?
Sure.
People on Amazon are looking for products. They're browsing. Kind of interesting stat I came across the other day is 78% of searches are non-branded. So people are looking, they're browsing, right? They're trying to find new brands, new products. And Amazon really is more than marketplace, a search engine, right? Most searches now begin on Amazon. So if you have good content, right away, you can differentiate yourself. You can give yourself a fair shot. Have good images. Sometimes, talk to sellers about this all the time. Sometimes the benefit or the value of your product is not clear, right? So you have to think about, from the seller's perspective, what is, do they really understand the benefit? Right? If it has an extra feature to it, is that clear in your photography, in your bullet points, in your title? Are you using a video? I think sponsor brand video, it performs great. It's a cost per click, so people can watch the entire video for free, and they could really feel, right, your brand and your product. So I think invest in content, whether you're going to do it in-house or you're going to outsource it. You have to do it. Bad content is the number one driver of poor conversions, right? And so that kind of gets me to my second point is the best sellers are oftentimes the best advertisers. You have to have a good advertising strategy. Cost per clicks are going up. People are coming after your brand. There's, long tail terms that you can take advantage of. You really have to have a strong advertising strategy. And so if you have good content, that's first. Second, make sure you are advertising effectively.
100%.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, man. That's how it is, man. That's how it is. It's like, because if not, you're wasting you're wasting the potential that your brand could be producing on Amazon, right? It's like, and people want to skip these processes because sometimes, like, we keep going back to it being expensive and people not wanting to make the investment. I had a customer that today, he was telling me, he's like, Frank, look, your price structure is great, but I'm dropping 100 SKUs a year. Like that, at that point, it doesn't make sense for me, right? And that, how do you? I'm like, all right, so you have two options. You hire a good person in-house, which can work,
right?
I can tell you how the hiring process is for me has been hell. Even me growing my agency and finding the right talent, because then you have to train them, right, to understand your brand and understand your culture and all that stuff. And that alone, people don't realize how much of a job that is. Like, I've been in the hiring process lately, and I'm telling you, it's absorbed hours, energy, time in my company, which, is taking away some of the focus on getting other things done, right? So it's putting all the pros and cons. And the reality is, paying an expert until you could afford an expert to work for you is definitely the way to go, man. Because, just time alone, man. And at this point of the game, if you're bootstrapping it, is a different story, right? Where you're starting from scratch. But some of these companies have exited. They know what it's taken. They have the money for it, and they're still questioning whether they can rebuild another Amazon account doing it the way that they did it before, right? And it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I mean, I think that's exactly right. Right? It's your time is your biggest resource at a certain point, right? You have your investment, how much money you're going to spend, but also how much time you invest. Do you want to hire people? Some people do. They like to hire. They like to build a team. I mean, I personally like to hire people, but I'm not running an Amazon business.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong with hiring an agency. I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, when I was at Blue Whale, we scaled brands significantly, right? It's a real white glove managed service, and it was one less thing they had to worry about. And then they, the sellers can focus on what they're best at or other things that are going to move the needle.
So Jake, do you remember I met you when you were at Blue Whale? We had like a video Zoom call. One of my clients was using you, and I ended up reaching out and getting in touch with you. And you would definitely, I remember from that call, you would definitely like, forget about the fact that you knew your stuff. You were passionate about what you were doing. And even like the way you described moving to Acquco, you were watching them for a while, you were following the space for a while. So I feel like, you started out, the boiler room status, the cold calling, that's definitely up the hustle, the hustle, whatever the word is, definitely checking a bunch of boxes. And then, every piece of it, I like to always take as much as I can of the hustle out of like the story and kind of like identify it. So, it's great. And now what you're doing at Acquco kind of just complements all your experiences, and it's nice. It's really nice. It's like you're a good addition to the team, and it shows that if they added you to the team, if that's a indication to the rest of the team, you guys got good people over there. I'll make that assumption.
I appreciate that. I have to pay you a little bit more to say nice things about me. Maybe. I appreciate you saying that. It's I'm really excited to be part of the team at Acquco because we try to hire the sharpest people possible. I think that's the key to scaling. You have to have, like we just talked about, and that's really the real competition starts is, can you scale a brand past the acquisition phase, right? If you're just an aggregator and you just think of yourself as collecting brands, it's a little bit short-sighted. And you'll just have, a lot of revenue, but you won't scale it. And so the key to scaling, one of the keys is you have to just have the best people working on your brands.
100%.
So now when you guys acquire a brand, and obviously the goal is to build the business, there's certain aggregators that I would say maybe put more into creating successes, and certain people maybe go after purchasing like already established successes. Would you guys say that you're exclusively looking for one of those two? Is it really only one of them? I'm curious to get a little clarity on that.
Look, we're looking for strong brands with good growth potential. I think the key is, what does strong mean?
Right?
Exactly. Right. What does strong mean? So I think we're looking for brands that are doing about $1 million and above in EBITDA. Okay. So, established brands, but the ones that we see that we can scale significantly on Amazon and then past Amazon. So not to say that there's not a lot of growth on Amazon. No, Amazon represents, 40%, only 40% of e-commerce, but, we want to scale brands as far as we can, right? Bring them into international. And so that's the key. So we are looking for established brands, but the majority of the growth is going to come post-acquisition. And, when we talk to sellers, I think they scale it to a point where they're very proud of, and they want to make sure that the brand's in good hands. So we detail our strategy for growing their company. I think that's why sellers like working with us. We're transparent in the process.
So I have two questions for you, Jay. We have a lot of Amazon sellers that follow us, and I conversate with them a lot of times, and exiting is an option for a few, right? And I know the answer to this, and I know I work with a lot of aggregators, but some have a different they work differently, right? So what type of numbers? I know this is like I said, we might know the answer to it, but I know a lot are like, they're scared to reach out. A lot of these big Amazon sellers, they're like very like hidden. People don't know who they are, and they don't like to expose themselves, right? They stay as like a hidden source. But I'm pretty sure a lot of them have asked this question, like, how do you determine what the brand is worth, and what what percentage do you say, hey, if you're producing this amount, you're worth this amount as an exit?
It's a really hard question because it's almost like when you sell your house and you have a 5-bedroom house, beautifully remodeled, and the person next door has got, the same square footage, but, it's not remodeled, and, they want that number, whatever that's sold for. So for us, and I think this is actually why sellers like working with us, we don't promise any numbers up front until we really dig into the numbers and, look at everything, right? We do base our valuations on trailing 12 months EBITDA. Right? But different businesses are growing faster. There's different categories that we like. We're looking for trends, and so I think the idea is we offer competitive multiples. If we didn't, we wouldn't. We haven't acquired any brands, but we take each opportunity on a case by case basis. But we're extremely thorough in the process, and I actually think sellers appreciate that rather than throwing out a number, getting somebody to agree, and then knocking them down during the diligence process to a lower multiple. And we have seen that. And there are companies that leave, they don't go with us. They go to another company, offered a high number, and then they end up coming back when a deal falls apart.
Kind of. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. And I have another question because I'm talking to these people, right? So I want to ask for them. And so once you purchase a brand, right? I know it's not just a 1, 2, 3 transaction. How long do they typically stay with you after they sell the brand to you? Because obviously they have to help out and like in any business, there's a transition period of time. Right. So it's not just I sold my brand. I'll see you later, right? It's like
Jake, I'll give you a little history as to why Frank's asking all these questions. Every 3 days, he calls me up and he goes, "Yo, this guy just sold for $100 million to this guy," and he just keeps every day. He's like, "Oh, my brands are getting bought." He every single day. Jake,
you guys are gonna take me out of business, man. Stop buying my my customers, bro.
Listen, when we buy a brand, we keep the partners. So we would. So if that's why you're asking, if we acquired a brand that was one of your clients, we keep you on, because if you are responsible, for a majority of success, a little of success, we want that expertise.
I won't say names, right? Because David, please, David, don't say no names. So one of my biggest customers to date, they were like top 15 seller on Amazon. I was getting crazy business from that person, and he calls me. He's like, "Frank, we just had the largest exit of a certain company, period. We're the largest exit to date." And I'm like, great, that works. And what's next? He's like, "That's it, man. We're working on another brand. They took our whole team. Everything's already out." And I'm like, okay. So now companies like me and David is no longer finding the Amazon person. It's like building these relationships with aggregators, because you're taking them all, man. You're taking them all.
Well, you should have got a piece of that referral. You should have got a referral.
That's a longer story. I wasn't the one that referred it, but I should have.
I didn't even tell you. Another one of your favorite accounts to work on is probably gonna sell. I have to tell you about it as well. But
all right, bye. I'm out of business.
Another one bites the dust, bro. Another one bites the dust.
Hey, make sure you make the intro to us.
These aggregators are taking over, man.
There's a race to acquire companies, and it's
this is the way I look at it, right? It's like there's this one brand that I worked with. I built it from scratch. I did all the branding. I did the name. I did everything. And they go and exit for this huge amount of money. It's like, I know the brand more than the owner.
Yeah.
Right? I created it. So it's like, but it is what it is. The world has transitioned into that. I can tell you this, and I'll say it very strongly, David, that in the next couple of years, these aggregators are going to be more focused on buying PPC agencies, creative agencies. They're going to have so many brands, and it's like, all right, what's next? Right?
I agree. So, I have a wonderful addition to this conversation at this moment. We can get another opinion. I'm just going to cue the music.
Back with the remix. These boys are my sons like Phoenix.
Yo!
I was wondering who the cameo was going to be. I was like, think about it.
Cameos usually don't get me excited, but this is my man.
What's up, New York? What's up, New York? New York in the house.
It was weird because I was Dayon this week. I see him almost all at conferences.
First of all, Gatita is even in my soup. I'm having soup that my noodles start spelling out Gatita, man.
I was just reading an email today.
That's good. That's a good advertisement. You see somebody eating soup, and also
that's a great advertisement.
You everywhere, man. Gatita, man. Gatita's blowing up, man. I'm so happy for what you guys are doing, man.
Thank
an inspiration to all of us, man. I'm with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, friend.
It's good to see you again.
All right, Jake, what's going on? What's happening here? I'm
a legend right now.
I'm talking about how many brands are selling.
I'm complaining. All my customers, I'm calling them about to do more business. They're like, "Oh no, we just exited. We just sold." These people are buying all my customers, bro. So I'm like, what are we doing here, man? You know.
Yeah, you always gotta go to the source. Who's buying? You gotta go.
Yeah.
Okay. You cash that, but where's your money, right? Where's the game? If these guys have it, then you gotta build a relationship, and
100%.
beyond the relationship, you gotta execute. You gotta show them you got the game and you got the right solution for them, and then it's a real win for everybody.
Yeah,
for sure.
Agreed.
So what's the next event? What are we up to? We all New York area, right? Jake is technically in New Jersey, but he's on. If he swims in the water, he's across this to New York.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I was in New York.
Where are you located, Jake?
What's that?
Where are you located?
I'm in Morristown, North Jersey. So I'm like half hour outside of the city.
Yeah. Every time I go to David, I pass by it.
Yeah, exactly.
Morristown.
Yeah, we need to do a seller meetup in here. There's a lot of sellers in Jersey,
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll bring a dinner out there one of these days.
Yeah, no, I would love that. I was talking to Jesse, our head of partnerships, about it. So we got some things in the works.
Jake, where'd you work before Acquco? I think I overheard you talk about that because David worked with you in the other company. So what were we doing?
So we first met when I was at Blue Wheel Media.
Blue Wheel?
Blue Wheel, yeah, Amazon advertising agency. And I was obviously on the Amazon side. They also do, digital marketing off Amazon as well. Really, really good.
Is that the ones that are based in Detroit, Michigan?
Yeah, exactly. They're Michigan. Yeah, Metro Detroit. So right outside. Yeah, they're growing fast. They do a good job. They have the bidding philosophy, search term isolation.
What is it?
Search term isolation.
Search term isolation. Got it.
Yeah, it's just a good advertising. But the idea is you're gaining full control over your ads. And
you got into the Amazon game through Blue Wheel, or
what's that?
You got that? That's how you got to the Amazon space?
No, I was at FeedVisor. Started at FeedVisor 2017, and back when there were really no advertising capability. It was just repricing. It was resellers were killing it, and then private label came out, and people were doing products we were pricing that FeedVisor had. That was the best way to gain edge, and then advertising really started to come on strong, and Amazon had all these product placements, ad placements. So it was good because I learned selling on Amazon from all different perspectives, all different sizes, and it was a blessing. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was just getting hung up on all the time, but I was and that's when I met guys like you and thought leaders in the space who are doing it right. I mean, it's a big space, but it's really small because I feel like we all know each other. And
so, how big is the space? What's the goggles you guys wear? Acquco, looking at the space, how big is it? The 2 million sellers.
Huge. I think there's 2 million sellers on Amazon, one new every minute. It's massive, right? And it's growing. I mean, Amazon is only 40% of e-commerce right now, and new sellers every minute, and also sellers that aren't in our in our range right now could be next month or 2 months. I mean, you talk to sellers all the time. Like, started 2 years ago, they got $10 million business. It's incredible.
Yeah, I spoke to Brandon Young earlier, and he's like, I think this industry, there's a lot of bells and whistles and noise, but he says it's still, throughout the whole challenges it's going through, it's still very viable for somebody within 2 years to become a millionaire.
Yeah,
by selling on Amazon within 2 years.
Yeah, you can't do that anywhere else. We couldn't start a restaurant, and be rich that fast, right?
That's what I'm saying, because Brandon Young has this community where he's training them, and they're actually becoming millionaires, and he's doing it for 3 years. And a lot of his students, or the community members, through this whole dogma that he built and SOPs and track and trails, it's working. These guys become millionaires. Of course, they're millionaires through the revenue and the profit. But of course, if they want to cash out, they become even more hardcore millionaires by selling out to Acquco, for example.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely just enjoy talking to sellers and listen to their stories. And they're always different, but it's they were doing something that had nothing to do with Amazon most of the time, right? And then they got it. Sometimes they have manufacturing experience or retail, but they're doing something else. Got into Amazon. Just worked really hard. And they were able to,
change their life. You have a special, opportunity to, it depends on the age. Some of them are doing actually in a more mature age, but it's cool. You get more, financial freedom. And I guess if you have that, then you have kind of the freedom of choosing what you want to do with your time. You want to take it easy,
Right.
or reinvest it to go even more hardcore. It's amazing how you see like how people.
Yeah, I think the official Amazon dream is build a brand, exit after 3-4 years, start all over again, and just keep doing it.
3-4 years,
or do it simultaneously. Have one. Well, once you get to a couple million, they realize the same things I was doing to get to here are not the same things I needed. So I'll start another one while this one just continues to grow.
And David, the new goal is 2-year exit, man. This whole 3-4 years, yeah, man. Everybody's like trying to build 2-3 years, get out.
Because it's becoming its own industry. The industry of people launching, creating a certain amount of revenue, and exiting. They're really good with those stages.
Yoni, this brand I worked with just exited for $60 million, and I was talking to him, and I was like, "So what's happening?" He's like, "No, we're in office and we're building another brand."
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like we're back at it again, right?
Yeah. If that's their talent, taking from one stage to another, and selling that stage to another party, right? Another.
Yeah. The only problem here is that also the whole team goes, right? So with a company of that size, they're taking whoever.
It's an infrastructure. For $60 million, you probably have a significant infrastructure set in place.
Yeah.
And you have to rebuild that. But if you were able to build those kind of organizations again and again and cash it out a good amount, you have a good business model.
For sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know exactly how to launch that business, get to a certain point. And then, I think sellers think, what's more likely, me doing this process again or getting to 10, 20 million? It's a lot more challenges, a lot more obstacles getting it, scaling a business. Past that, there's only, handful of sellers that make it to that point, right? But lots that make it to 5 to million.
Yeah.
100%. All right, guys.
All right.
This was a very informational podcast. David with our exit music.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Jake, thank you for joining us. Yoni, thank you for the cameo.
Taking over
guys, thank you so much.
Got this. All right, guys. Take care.
Yeah.